I'm going to ask you, it's a two-part question. One, talk a little bit, just so people have a foundation of this, about how goals impact attention and how they serve as kind of a top-down attention mechanism. And the question I have for you is, how does long-term goals impact attention? And I'm really asking a question at like a thalamic gating kind of level. We can unpack the neuroscience along the way, but I'm really, it's been fascinating to me. You're one of the only people I know in the world who really works on the goal-directed system, first of all, and is even thinking about long-term goals and how they affect perception, thalamic gating, all that sort of stuff. I'm going to take us from multitasking into the deep end of the neuroscience in a minute. But I've got you. So, you're a captive audience. So I got to ask you.
No, I love it. And we've talked about this as well a bit. Let me just create a little bit of a landscape for us to talk about attention. Attention is one of those things, even some very famous psychologists have said, oh, attention, everyone knows what it is. We think it's obvious, and we use it across every field. But attention is super complicated. If we had a whole hour to talk about attention, we would definitely not get through it all. And so I'm not going to try to unpack it in all of its beautiful complexity and nuance, but I do want to just frame it from one perspective, given your question, this idea of bottom-up and top-down attention. And then we'll talk about short-term and long-term. So the most ancient aspect of attention, the one that we evolved for our survival, is called bottom-up attention. And that's how the environment itself demands your attention based upon the salience or novelty of the stimuli. So this is what allowed our ancient ancestors, even if you go back to single-cell organisms before we had a nervous system, to survive, to basically avoid threats and toxins and seek out nutrients and eventually mates. And, and so our other animals, and us to some degree too, are constantly directing our attention based upon the environment itself. It demands our attention and it moves it around, and it's largely reflexive, and we retain a lot of those reflexes. So fortunately, because we still use them for survival. That's bottom up. Top down, we're as animals, as humans within our species, and as animals ourselves, that is where we're most advanced, is top-down attention. Top-down is where your attention is not driven by the stimuli themselves, they're driven by your goals. So you make decisions and you decide, I am going to direct my attention towards that or away from that. So that goal-directed attention or top-down attention is sort of, I would say, the pinnacle of human brain evolution. And it's what allows us to do everything that we've done, from society to language, music, technology, art, all of that demands top-down attention. But we're always in this conflict of bottom-up and top-down, right? So even now I'm struggling with it because I'm not like in the perfect setting to have this exchange. There was a horn outside, pull my attention away. I know my wife is upstairs on another call. I could sort of hear a little bit bottom-up. And so this is how we navigate the world, whether we're aware of it or not, is balancing bottom-up and top-down. And they're always at an interface, and you're always struggling to assert your goals over the environment and vice versa. And that happens every moment, right? We constantly flow through this interaction between bottom up and top down. And that's happening in the very short term. And it influences everything. It influences our memory, our perception, our decision-making, our emotional regulation. All of it is being influenced by those two attentional forces. And just to like wrap up and not go off on too far on a tangent. So in terms of long-term planning, that's even more human than what other animals are capable of. And that takes even more top-down effort and control and attention. And it intersects with all those other things as well. But the real challenge of this research is understanding how those long-term goals mediate the attentional flow in the moment. And that's something that we're interested in, that we're looking at. So when you enter a situation, this is sort of the interface that I think between intention and attention. So attention are the resources, the top-down attention that lets you put your limited mental power where and when you want it. And the intentions are how you make the decision about where it is. And obviously, it's the intentions that are influenced by those long-term goals.
If what you've heard on Flow Research Collective Radio has been helpful, please consider doing us a solid and leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening to this. Reviews help us connect to a wider audience so we can get these peak performance principles out to more people.